Now let's hear viewpoints from both sides of the aisle. We welcome Austin Barbour and Brandon Jones to our MPB studios. Austin is a Republican strategist and founder of the Clearwater Group. Brandon is an attorney and a former Democratic member of the Mississippi House. Welcome back, gentlemen, as always.
Thanks.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah, good to be here.
Let's start with the House bill on hemp that would essentially call for more stringent testing of hemp products that you can, Austin, just walk into a gas station now in a lot of places and buy, even though they might contain more of a substance than is legally allowed.
Yeah, so this is Representative Lee Yancey. This is his bill. He's a chairperson in the House from Rankin County who's worked on these types of issues, the medical marijuana program. He's been sort of the lead guy in the House, and Senator Kevin Blackwell's been the lead person in the Senate, and they've collaborated and worked together. And this bill, the Yancey bill, has made its way to the Senate. It was double referred to two committees over there, and I think yesterday passed out of the second committee. It was Public Health first, and then Senate Finance yesterday. Listen, this is the way that I look at this bill, and I'm very excited. I don't have any dogs in the hunt on this, but as a father of teenagers, which we all are, I have always been concerned about the ability for a teenager under 21, could be a 12-year-old, to be able to walk into a gas station anywhere in Mississippi, not just in a bad part of Jackson, not just in a bad part of Yazoo City, but anywhere in Mississippi, and buy these products that are not what they say. Okay, and how do I know that? Because the professor from Ole Miss, who I can't think of his name, has testified multiple times, including last week in Hob Bryan's committee. He said, listen, we tested more than 20 of these products that say all these things on there, that it has A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay, 90% of the products that we tested didn't have any of those stuff. Had all kinds of other products, which are seriously dangerous for an adult to take, particularly a teenager or a preteen. So I am so thankful that we are going to ban these types of products if they have any THC products in there. They will not be allowed to be sold if this bill passes. Now, there are still some products that you can buy that are not consumable. They use the term intoxicating. Well, you get intoxicated when you take them, but you consume them. The products like lotions that you could buy at a CBD store, those are not consumable. You put them on your hand. Those products will still be legal if this bill passes. So this bill has bipartisan support in the legislature, and I think it's a really good thing that they have had intense debate and research. I'm sorry I'm long-winded on this issue, and it obviously still got to get out of the Senate. But it's clear sailing towards that path, I think, and then signed by the governor, Brandon.
Yeah, Austin, help me understand a little bit here. It sounds to me like there are currently products that are being sold over the counter that have more THC than what we would even permit within our system that we pass for medical marijuana.
In a dispensary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so right now we have a legalized medical marijuana program that was researched by the legislature, by the Department of Health, was put into place for people who have these types of issues, that have health issues, and they go to a dispensary where these products have been tested out the wazoo and regulated by the Department of Health. We have this legal system in Mississippi, but we've also had sort of this black market system that wasn't, hidden behind the shadows. It was right there on the gas station shelf that you could go in and buy those products, Brandon.
I would guess the demand for these products, do we know? I mean, is it pretty high? I mean,
yes.
Are these things flying off?
Yes.
I wonder then if maybe part of the takeaway.
From what I've been told, yes.
Yeah, but I wonder if part of the takeaway for the legislators looking at this is to say, look, there's clearly demand out here. And we passed a medical marijuana program that's having some difficulty in terms of navigating the regulatory system that it has. And so we don't have as much of this stuff happening in the manner that people anticipated when the bill was passed. So I wonder if this might spur the legislature to say, look, we have a regulated system in place. Can we do the things we need to do to make this available to the people who need it and the people who have their prescription, and try to, advance that program a little bit. Because, we had so many people put so much money into this program in Mississippi. And maybe part of the answer to this is, as we all know, as we saw with the vote on medical marijuana, as we know from people who are working in the industry, there's a desire for this to figure its way out.
I think what you're also saying is the folks who are of age, 21 or older, who meet the requirements, they shouldn't be going and buying stuff from these gas stations. They should be going and following the process, getting their doctor's certificate to say you can go to a legal dispensary that does definitive testing on these types of products if you need help.
Yeah.
And that certainly will be a byproduct of this. It will help the industry, which is a good thing. But the biggest part of this is we cannot have 12-year-olds or 18-year-olds going and having full access to products that have more amounts of THC and all kind of other crazy products than you could buy from any of our dispensaries.
And I kind of polled some members of the House and Senate. It sounds like, Wilson, this is bipartisan so far. I mean,
I agree. Yeah, it is.
Well, we'll watch it. Let's talk about gaming legislation. First, we had the mobile sports betting bill that did not survive. And in response, you have Trey Lamar proposing a tax hike on casinos, and also killing the bill that would that help establish a casino in downtown Jackson. What's happening here, Austin? Is this is there some leverage play here? What's going on?
I think it is on the mobile sports bill. I mean, listen, the mobile sports bill has been everybody knows this would allow you, if this gets passed, to be able to go to your phone and place a bet on a pro sports game.
Because you can bet on sports games now. You just have to go into a brick and mortar sportsbook casino.
That's exactly right. But this would allow you to do it, from your home in Jackson or Jackson County. And there are dozens of other states around the country that allow this, and it's just been debated in Mississippi. This has been a priority for the House for several years, and the Senate has not moved this for a variety of issues or reasons. Their big priority has been on some other things. But I look, Trey Lamar, always going to give him credit. If he thinks there's a way to get something done, he's going to try to figure out how to go get it done. If there's something that's a priority to Trey Lamar, he usually wins on these things. He is a smart and a powerful member of the legislature who's not willing to go pick a fight or go advocate in a strong way for an issue that he or his caucus or his body believes in, and that's certainly what he's doing. There have been some in the gaming industry, just to be candid, some casinos who are against mobile sports gaming. The vast majority are for it. I think there have been some notions in the past that some of the smaller ones feel like, well, this is really going to hurt us, and so I think they have sort of said, no, let's not go do this. And Trey is like, hey, we're gonna use this raising of 50% increase in gaming taxes as hopefully some leverage to try to get the Senate to move on this, or to maybe not get the Senate, but to get the casino industry as a whole locked in to say, okay, let's all go advocate strongly for mobile sports gaming. So I love watching Trey Lamar when he gets working on something. He's someone who fascinates me to watch how he works, because he's very, very successful with what he does.
Brandon, do you love watching Trey Lamar?
I've long advocated the producers in Austin to have Trey Lamar Corner on this program, because each week he does something. My take on it's different than Austin, but I would agree insofar as it is compelling. Look, let's just think about this for a moment. Representative Lamar believes we could have online and sports gaming on our phones.
Yes.
Let's start there. In order to help that happen this week, he suggested that we increase the tax rate on our local casinos, and then he said, well, let's build a casino in Jackson. And so, Austin may call that wily or outside of the box thinking. I would say maybe sometimes there are other tactics. Like, I would like to see Lamar use another tool in his toolbox other than to walk over and punch the other guy in the teeth. Like, that seems to be the only tactic he understands, and it has made him less effective. I mean, let's face it. We come in here every year and we talk about the 15 things Trey Lamar is going to do, and if they don't do them, he's going to hurt however other many opponents he has over there in the legislature. And then we get to the end of the session and he hadn't gotten them. And a lot of times that's because of these types of tactics. I mean, raising taxes on casinos out of the mouth of the same guy who's carrying water for the House tax plan is just kind of bananas. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's a tactic, I guess.
It's a tactic. If that's what he was really trying to do, was to go try to have a 50% increase in the gaming taxes, I would agree with you. But certainly he is using it as a tactic. This is my understanding. This is my impression. I have not talked to him about this. This is my theory. He is using it as a tactic to try to get the industry to say, you know what, we can't mess with a 50% increase. Let's all get on the same page. Let's go focus on this. And he did say in committee, look, this amendment, which was the 50% increase, no, he said we will have an amendment that will pass that will say when mobile sports gaming is enacted, this 50% increase it goes away. There's not going to be a 50% increase on gaming taxes. We all know that, but I do appreciate his willingness to go try to get this done in his own ways. And certainly the Jackson Casino thing is a separate issue.
Well, look, we got to remind our listeners what your day job is. You're a lobbyist. You got to talk to you got to deal with it. If I were lobbying, I would probably say the same thing, because Trey Lamar, we know how he handles dissension. It's not great. Yeah, but I would tell him he's doing good too.
But I believe what I say.
He has that's true. He has an uncanny ability to make new constituencies of enemies each session. I mean, there were probably people in the local casino industry that didn't come into this year thinking we have an enemy in the Ways and Means chair who are now going, who is this guy? Because they may not sort through all the nuance to figure out what's going on. They're just going to know he was saying we need to raise our taxes 50%. And again, we come back to, we are having at this moment a very serious tax discussion in the state. To have the main tax guy over in the House just kind of throwing random shots over tax increases on major industries in the state. I would just point that out. If I were in his ear, and I'm not, and if he were taking my advice, which he isn't, I would just say, I don't know. Maybe try something different next time. We've seen the pugilist side. Now maybe let's try the honey side.
Let's talk more about the tax bill. You mentioned, Brandon. Austin, you say that the infrastructure component of this is a key part of it, that it won't pass unless there is substantial money for infrastructure improvement. What do you mean?
Well, I would maybe look at it a little bit differently. I think there are lots of different variables of the House plan and the Senate plan. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. But what I know both sides, House, the Senate, and the governor, all adamantly agree with is that we have got to fix the way that we fund infrastructure, particularly Mississippi Department of Transportation. We got to fix that. There's not a consistent enough stream of tax dollars that go into that to fund expansion projects, growth areas of the state, just general paving for all 33,000 miles of road that MDOT has to cover in Mississippi. And I feel like that, the emphasis on that, to me, is sort of the biggest variable in this for both sides to go, gosh dang it, we can't walk away from this. Yes, both sides want to cut income taxes. Okay, both sides want to do something about the grocery tax, but I know also both sides want to fix MDOT funding. And look,
when you say both sides, you talk about Democrats and Republicans, or House and Senate?
I'm talking about House and Senate. We can talk about Democrats and Republicans separately. And I will say that Brad White, who is the executive director of MDOT, is very savvy politically. has trust from Republicans and Democrats in both chambers and in the governor's office, and he's been an excellent leader and voice, along with our three commissioners at MDOT, to say, please, we've got this. This is our chance. As I heard Brad say, we haven't had a serious conversation about increasing money into MDOT since 1987. 1987. I was 12 in 1987. You were probably younger.
Is raising the price of gasoline, Brandon, the best way to achieve that?
So all of this is the reason we shouldn't be talking about eliminating personal income taxes. This whole thing, Dawson just made a terrific argument for what the heck are y'all doing over there? Quit messing around with the tax system, because, yeah, the focus is infrastructure today. If we pass this bill, there's countless other things we could point to, like our healthcare system or our public schools or anything else that you rely on the state to provide for our towns and communities. So I would say this, Brad is doing what he should do. Commissioner White is doing what he should do. Executive Director White is doing what he should do to try to say infrastructure funding is not where it should be, and we need to make sure we have some sustainable plan for doing that. But if we were being honest, everyone throughout government would be making the same pitch. Now, Brad White is the former head of the Mississippi Republican Party. He's the former chief of staff to Tate Reeves. He's one of the best connected Republicans in the entire state. I wonder if other people would be getting the same type of attention if they were raising these types of issues. I mean, the truth of the matter is, this income tax thing is a big problem, and it's going to cause funding issues throughout every sector of government, every piece of government, everything we do in this state. And I'm glad that Brad White is ringing the bell for infrastructure, because he should, because our roads and bridges are vitally important. But that is just one piece of a larger whole that's going to suffer if any of these bills are passed.
It is. It's just, I guess my general point was it's fascinating to me to see. I know how important infrastructure is, and particularly MDOT, and I know that both sides and Republicans and Democrats in both chambers, House and Senate, they want this fixed, because they know whether you're in Washington County or DeSoto or Hancock or Harrison, they've got big projects they want to see funded, and there's just only so much money at MDOT right now, and so let's get them more so we continue to make our roads and bridges better.
And I'll say this, I hope I'm not talking out of school here, but I truly believe that a balance of Democrats in the House and Senate would be more than happy to take that issue on its own and find a sustainable funding mechanism. Yeah. If they just wanted to take that issue and take Executive Director White and his recommendation and make that a standalone bill, I would not be surprised if there was not pretty decent support for that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm curious to hear if either of you have any thoughts on the Mississippi-Israel caucus formed by Senator Jeremy England of Van Cleve.
I think I saw a little bit about what Jeremy said on this issue. Senator England said about this issue. Sure, it's a positive. I think anytime we as a state can try to have conversations with other countries, and that allows our farmers, our business people, our tourism industry, whatever, to have some give and take on trade, that's a good thing.
Brandon.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of thoughts on this, Wilson. This is not something I am very familiar with. It just occurs to me that, if we're having a difficult time with this bunch passing a local and private in Ryenzi, what makes us think that they're going to figure out generations of conflict in the Middle East? It seems kind of performative. Let me just be honest with you. It seems a little bit performative. It seems a little bit self-serving. And typically we do not turn to our state legislators to unravel major pieces of international policy. So good for them, but this is kind of not real.
Brendan, how do you think that everybody's working together over at the Capitol right now? The Democrat and Republican question here. How are they working together or not working together to get things done?
I'm sure that if we talk to members in both chambers, we'd get a different answer, because It's not the same. Lieutenant Governor Hoseman has one approach, and Speaker White has another approach. But we did hear from members of the House this week, notably Representative Robert Johnson, Representative Scott from Jones County, Representative Harness, and others who were raising some issues of very great importance to them and their community. And these people together represent more than 45% of the state. You know, these are important constituency groups. And their point was to say that they're being closed out. And I think we have to take them at their word. And I think the reason this is notable is because Speaker White is still relatively early in his speakership. He still is forming kind of how he will be known and how he moves. And we all remember not very long ago him making a commitment to be a different type of speaker and be the type of speaker who listens to people and who takes each individual member's concerns seriously, certainly whole constituency groups. And I think we have to be honest at this point and say he has failed to deliver on that promise. I was really struck by his comments in response to this press conference where he said, look, we have time on the floor to negotiate bills and to argue. Well, now that's kind of a slap in the face if you're a member and you're asking for time to be part of the decision-making process. Now, elections have consequences. Elections and redistricting have consequences. Republicans have a supermajority right now. I understand that. We can do math. But sidelining members like I just mentioned, Johnson, Scott, Harness, and others, is not smart. It's cutting off the nose to spite the face. Robert Johnson's one of the smartest, most competent members of that body. And to sideline him and not make him a part of these big decisions, I believe is a mistake, even if you do have the numbers. There's no question in my mind that our policies and proposals would be better with his inclusion. And so, yeah, I don't like it. I wish it weren't the case. I'm a part of the group who has urged both the lieutenant governor and the speaker, please include people where you can. It'll make the policies better. It'll make your job easier in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Robert Johnson is one of the most talented legislators in the whole building. He's someone that I've always enjoyed talking to and working with and trading ideas with. I think the same thing about Derek Simmons from Greenville in the Senate. One of my favorite members over there. We don't always agree on a lot of stuff, but I very much enjoy having conversations and debate with both those gentlemen. And look, you know, I don't know the details of this. I'm not in the meeting, whether it's the speaker and Republicans versus Democrats. I have no idea. But I would be confident that the speaker's door is always open, and I hope it is, particularly for all of his members, particularly members of such standing as Representative Johnson.
Thank y'all both, as always, for your insight on At Issue, where we can disagree and have constructive conversations, and hopefully the folks listening learn a little along the way. This has been At Issue, a weekly discussion about the 2025 Mississippi legislative session. You can hear At Issue every Friday night at 6:30 during the session on MPB Think Radio. You can also subscribe to our At Issue podcast, which features extended versions of our roundtable discussions and featured interviews. And if you'd like to see what we all look like, you can catch the video versions of our roundtable and interviews at mpbonline.org and on YouTube. At Issue is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting. I'm Wilson Stribling. From all of us at MPB, we thank you for joining us.